It is my privilege to introduce our next speaker here at the Rising Bharat Summit. The bullishness about India that you've all been witness to over the past 2 days is showing up in our capital markets as well. The Bombay Stock Exchange market capitalization has risen. It's crossed $4 trillion recently, a nearly 4 times climb from the levels of $1.6 trillion that we saw a decade ago in 2014. The BSE Sensex has nearly tripled from 27,500 in 2014 to 72,000 now. Global funds are looking at India with an increasing appetite, and there's more money flowing from the Indian households to the Indian equity markets too. The value of shares and debentures held by households has jumped over 1,000% in the past decade. Mutual funds assets under management have also vaulted 500% in this decade. The Indian equity market has added 31 million investors in 2023. Digitization of financial systems and deeper bank penetration is transforming people's savings behavior, mirroring preference towards more return-yielding financial assets. To talk to us here on the Rising Bharat platform about the phenomenal transformation and democratization of the Indian capital markets, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome here on the stage Madhabi Puri Buch, chairperson of the Securities Exchange Board of India, the chairperson of our market regulator, Sebi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I must admit I'm a little nervous here today because Shireen has asked me to deliver an address which is supposed to be 25 minutes long. And I'm really worried because at the best of times, 5 minutes, 10 minutes is good. But to the best and brightest minds in the country sitting here today, I can't think how I can keep you engaged for 25 minutes, but I shall try. So the strategy is to share with you some stories along the way in terms of what is happening in our capital markets. So as we think about democratization of the capital markets, to me, the question that starts right at the beginning is, what do we understand by democratization? And in order to share the story of many years ago, it's a story about one Mr. Murthy. He was a real person, Mr. Murthy, in Hyderabad, looked pretty much like this. This was the early days of online share trading, and when I met this gentleman, he was a small trader sitting in Hyderabad. We spoke partly in English, partly in Telugu. And he said that he was extremely delighted with online share trading. And when I asked him why was this the case, he had 2 very simple things to say. He said, I like to trade, but I trade very small amounts. So the sub-broker doesn't really care much about me, and I have to keep pestering him and following up again and again, and he just often doesn't even take my phone call. And if it's a really volatile day, so there's no chance of my being able to get through to him. And all the volatile days, I miss the activity in the market because the sub-broker simply won't pick up my phone. And he said, online share trading gives me an equal right, like all the bigwig investors, to go and buy and sell my shares. That was the day that I learned what is meant by democratization. We often think only of entry, access to come in. What he taught me was access to get out as well. Because in a large part of any industry, any product or service, There are many people who encourage you to come in, but do you have equal access and as much service from them when you want to go out? So to me, democratization needs to encapsulate not just ease of coming in, but ease of being served right through the life cycle of being an investor, and indeed the ease of going out. So what is it that has really happened in our markets? I will take you to another story. This story is about Mr. Kamath. Many of you know him. I've taken his permission to narrate this story. It's not a professional story. It's about Mr. Kamath, the man. Mr. Kamath has household help, and he was really keen that they should participate in the growth of the country, the growth of the markets, and really create wealth for their children and their families. So he wanted to pay them bonuses and part of their salary, invest on their behalf, but he always worried. He said, I'll make the investment on their behalf, but tomorrow when I am not here and they need to be served and they need to exit, who will be there to serve them? They will be lost in this world, right? His domestic help, his driver, his maid at home, his sweeper, his cleaner. And then one day, we showed him a demo of MF Central. Those of you who are familiar with it, this is unprecedented anywhere in the world. And when I speak at IOSCO, which is our global forum for market regulators, they simply cannot believe that an entire industry, 50 different mutual funds, have come together to say that here is the one place where you will be served through a single window. It's not just about buying through a single window. That everybody does because of their own commercial interest. But to be served through a single window. So if you say, I want to change my address, and you are holding units in 5 or 6 different mutual funds, you upload it once, it automatically goes to all 5 or 6. Whenever you have any service request, you say, I want my account statement, I want my tax statement, I need to give it to somebody. You upload once, it goes to everybody. Single window to be served during your entire life cycle of holding that. Now, this is truly phenomenal. It's not just about the fact that technology enables it. It's about the fact that the entire industry chose to come together and offer this and say, this is not a space where we need to compete, this is a space where we need to collaborate. And that's what creates the democratization. Third story. So Shakti Amma, many of you may be aware, I am a Unilever wife, so I'm very aware of who Shakti Amma is. So this is the local Kirana wala lady who is in every village of the country. What is our ambition? Our ambition is that just as Shakti Amma is selling these little sachets of everything, and we know the entire story about how the shampoo market in India exploded when it moved from bottles to sachets, and people could afford to buy a 1 rupee sachet or a 2 rupee sachet of shampoo, but could never have afforded to buy a 100 rupee bottle. The market just exploded. So our objective is that in similar vein, we are looking to do sachetization of all our financial products. Again, the industry is coming forward to play such a marvelous role. So at the moment, the mutual fund industry tells us that a 500 rupee per month SIP is profitable for them. While many of them actually offer as low as 100 rupees a month, it is not profitable. They're sort of doing a bit of cross-subsidy while they build up volume. We as a regulator know that unless it is viable, it will not be pushed. So we are working very closely with the industry to identify what are all the costs, including some of the regulation-driven costs, which is making this unviable at a 250 rupee SIP. So again, it's something world over people cannot understand how a $3.50 per month investment can be made viable, but it is the magic of digitization. So for me, the journey of democratization is all about the journey of digitization. So hopefully, very soon, we will have Shakti Amma having little sachets of mutual fund units over there, 250 rupees a month top up. The next story is about the red, green, and yellow. As I said, for us, democratization, not just to enter. Sometimes there are disputes. Sometimes consumers have grievances. If you don't have inclusion and democratization of that, you are again letting down your investor. So when we think of democratization, there must be democratization of this as well. At Sebi, we are about to launch on April 1st. I told them don't do April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. We are about to launch Scores 2.0. It's a new version. It's absolutely fantastic. The way the entire workflow of handling consumer investor complaints is completely automated. It is linked to every other system in the market. So for instance, when you go there, in our version 1.0, when an investor went there, he had to register for his complaint, and he had to put in his email ID, his phone number, his this, his that, to just register that he wants to put in a complaint. And we asked ourselves, why is he doing that? He's coming here to complain because he's already an investor. So we should be having his data. Why are we asking him to put it again? Right? So we have to make it easy for that person that Mr. Kamath told us he wants to invest on behalf of. So now, if he just puts in his PAN number, you all know PAN is essential in our country for being in the market, automatically the system talks to our KRA system and pulls all the data and says, this is your phone number, this is your email ID, this is your address, if this is you, please proceed. So simplifying it to this extent from the start of registration of a complaint to taking it to the end of an online dispute resolution mechanism of arbitration and mediation, the entire process with 3 levels of escalation for the consumer, for the investor, is something that has now been digitized. And the objective is democratize this thing for them, which is their dispute resolution. If you don't do that, you're just paying lip service to the fact that you allowed them in, but are you serving them in a democratic way?